Let's start.
Hello, sports fans.
Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air. Stand by.
Now,
All right. Welcome to another edition of the JP Peterson Show, here coming to you live from Las Vegas. It's Thursday, and it's the JP Peterson Show. Welcome in. Yes, I am out in the on the surface of the sun in Las Vegas, where it was 104 degrees when I landed the other night. I'm producing a video for a company called 3B Protection, MK Perimeter. I do industrial videos as well now, part of my many jobs. So I got to fire a 50 cal World War II machine gun yesterday, which I put up on my video if you want to go check that out. So that's what I'm doing out here in Las Vegas, actually doing a little sports reporting as well, which we'll get to later on. A lot of gambling issues going on out here in Vegas, but I'll say good morning to you, Nick Geddes, in our St. Petersburg RHS TV studios. How are you this morning?
Again, just like I said yesterday, I'm trying to forget about another dreadful watch.
Wow.
Known as your Tampa Bay Rays. See, you got it easy, JP.
Yeah.
You jet set it over to Las Vegas. You told me that you didn't get a chance to see the game yesterday because you were working when it happened, a daytime
Shucks.
game.
Yeah.
Damn, you missed it.
Darn.
I get done with the show yesterday. I get home. I'm like really tired. It was just one of those days where I was just like, man, I don't feel like doing anything. And I got a story, by the way, to get to as well.
Oh.
But I sat down and I was like, oh, the Rays play today. Maybe this will get me going a little bit. Nope. Nope. Couple innings in, few innings in, 0 runs being scored. I'm starting to just
Yeah.
doing that again. I mean, that's what the Rays have become for me at the moment. I mean, these are hard games to watch.
They're so
frustrating they are.
They're so bad that even if they acquire Ohtani, I don't think they're going to be any good. That's how bad they are. That even if they get the greatest player in the history of the game, at least for this short amount of time, it may not make a difference. That's how bad they are.
I don't know if
that's bad.
I don't know if I'll go that far. I would assume an addition like that would put a jolt into your
Yeah.
a little bit, get everybody going. But the way
All right,
it is right now, this is just not a good baseball team at this moment.
All right, we're going to dive into that. Let me set up the show here a little bit. Brought to you by the great folks at the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES Personal injury, personal attention. If you have been involved in an accident, they are the folks to go see. They will get you right. And Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com, and all our other great sponsors, which we'll tell you about as the show goes on. But Rich Hollenberg, I mean, of all days, do we need some positive Rich? Do we need some positive Rich? We need some positive Rich. So Rich Hollenberg's going to join us today and try to buoy our spirits. And there is hope, folks. Don't lose all hope. You know me, I've been kind of negative about the Rays for quite some time now. But even I can offer up some hope today. So we'll dive into that as well. An emerging story that is going to be the biggest story probably of the day, maybe, and of probably the next year coming up in college sports. There is a bill that is circulating now in Congress at the federal level that is going to supersede all the state level NIL laws. And at first glance, it's a good one. It's good. I like it. I like what they're doing. Obviously, the devil's going to be in the details here, but we will get to that. It's called the College Athletic Protection and Compensation Act. It is a bipartisan bill. And on first blush, it looks really, really good. So we'll talk to you about that because it's going to be a huge story and I think a positive for college athletics. We're going to get to a lot of college football talk. Media days are going on. Alabama searching for a quarterback. Georgia kind of in the same position. We'll talk some FSU. We'll talk some Gators. Billy Napier is going to keep calling the plays, which is something that is a trend that is going away, even with the biggest play callers in the game, including Jimbo Fisher. So we'll talk about that. The Open Championship is underway at Royal Liverpool. We will talk about that as well. So lots to get to today here on the JP Peterson Show. But we will dive in, and lots of anecdotes from Las Vegas and my travels. Traveling these days, bro.
It seems like everybody's got a delay. Like if you're
God,
just forget about it. Forget about it.
Even though I flew first class, thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, 3B. Yeah, working for these big companies that have money, really good.
Mr. Important Pants over there.
Really, Mr. Important Pants, really, really good. I haven't flown first class in a long time. I will tell you, let's get into some sports. We'll get into that story a little bit later on. But yeah, but also a 7-hour delay. Thank you, Delta. Unbelievable. All right, let's get into the race. Yesterday, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the game because it's like, freaking Groundhog Day, right? This looks so much like the last month of last season. It looks so much like the last month where the Rays are 3-14 in July, according to Mark Topkin, hitting 210, 104 with runners in scoring position.
You have to try to hit that low in runners in scoring position.
Seriously, like close your eyes and swing, and you're going to do better than that. It's bad. It's bad. And the question here on the larger level is not about yesterday's game, but is this who they are? Or the first 2 months of the season when they were historically good? And maybe cheating. Dare I say? All right, I won't go there. But, because there's no evidence yet. But, now you look at that first 2 months of the season and you're like, who are those guys? But there's reasons for it, okay? I think the Rays took advantage. They were ready for the new rules. They were the pitch clock, the bigger bases, and they were ready for everything, and they took advantage of it, right? Other teams were slow to react. Typically, the Rays are ahead of the curve. But I think now everybody else is caught up. They know what the Rays are doing. They've got great analytics on them. And so now they have to adjust. Baseball, among all games, is the ultimate game of adjustment. And the great players can adjust. That's why they're great players and they have longevity in the league, and that's why they make a lot of money. Young players, some can adjust and become great players. Most cannot. And I think that's where we are right now. Guys like Wander Franco, Josh Lowe. Across the board, all of them. People have found holes in their swing. They're taking advantage of them. And here's the problem. When you have young, inexperienced players, and even experienced players sometimes, but younger, inexperienced players, they lose confidence. They lose confidence and they start doing things they shouldn't do. If you go look at a tape of our at-bats in the first 2 months, everybody's going the other way. Nobody's extending outside the zone. And they were so good and so patient, and pitchers were like, damn, we got to throw them strikes at some point, and they hit them. They hit them the opposite way. They did everything. And now, Rosarena's swinging for the fences. He's pulling his head. Franco, I think you mentioned this point, 30. He's lost 30 points in his batting average. And I don't have any evidence to suggest this except the empirical evidence that is before me in terms of numbers and what has happened. But when a Rosarena and Yandy had the throwdown last year, the team tanked. It tanked. When did this team start tanking? We got the article from Mark Topkin on Wander's behavior, then the suspension. Wander's tanked, and it's at least at the plate. Pinch hit yesterday, struck out. I can't help but not look at that and say, is there a problem in terms of this clubhouse? I don't know. I'm just asking the question because this slide has coincided with Wander's issues. So lots to chew on there, Nick. What do you think?
Well, I don't know how much it relates on the field because I can only speak to what I'm seeing on the field from this team. And there was a moment yesterday in the game that you just do not see. And I know you probably missed this. This was in the 7th inning, I want to say, and this pitcher, Alex Spees, comes on for the Rangers to make his Major League debut. If you don't know his story, by the way, real quick, drafted in 2016, He left baseball in 2021 and was a Little League coach this time last year. Got back into it, said, I'm going to give it one final shot. It his Major League debut yesterday against the Rays. And he came up and faced Yandy Diaz. Yandy Diaz works a 3-1 count, takes some really close pitches, and then all of a sudden, Yandy on a 3-2 count chases one of those sliders that ended up in the other batter box, and it was never a strike out of the hand. And that's Yandy Diaz doing that.
Yep.
Yandy never does that.
Trying to do too much.
And that's a moment that just jumped out to me from yesterday's game, and that's a reoccurring theme. If you break down the problems with this team right now, they're not hitting the long ball as frequently as they did. When they do, it's solo home runs. They don't get guys on base. That was a difference in this series. When the Rangers hit home runs, they had guys on base, and they were able to build leads. When the Rays hit home runs, it's just solos because nobody's on base, and they just, bottom line, they can't get the big hit. And yesterday was especially frustrating because they actually were hitting the ball pretty well. They finished the game with 10 hits.
Yeah, 12 base runners.
They had 4 or 5 innings in a row where they got 2 guys on at least, and they were able to do nothing with it. Taylor Walls gets on base, and then he gets picked off at second base. Josh Lowe gets thrown out at home. And it was like the perfect delivery from the outfield, the relay. It was all perfect from the Rangers. Of course it was, to get Josh Lowe out at home, right? We have guys grounding into double plays to end innings. That's been a reoccurring theme. They're getting thrown out on the base paths. They were stealing bases like crazy the first 2 months of the season. Now they're getting thrown out a ton, so they're not as effective on the base path. So you put that all together. Oh, and by the way, the bottom of the lineup, Taylor Walls, Christian Bethancourt, Manuel Margot, who were all carrying their load down there, they're doing nothing.
Yeah, automatic outs.
Absolutely nothing. And it's at the point where, yeah, their defense is really good, but I don't know if it's outweighing their offense anymore. And again, Wander Franco's slumping. Randy hasn't been great lately at the plate. It's everything with this offense, a total funk. And you have to ask yourself, they were 29-7 to start the season.
Right.
Historic pace. We knew they weren't going to keep it up, but the whole question was, are they going to bottom out to what they were last year, or are they going to find a happy medium? They have completely bottomed out. And they're 31 now and 32. And they're last 63 games, if I do the math correctly there?
Well done.
31 and 32. Which sample size would you like to go off of? 29-7 in a span of 36 games, or do you want to go off the last 63 where they are middle of the road, bang average, and have like the 4th best record in the AL East? Which one is it? It's no longer we can say, oh, it's just one little part, it's 1 week of a 162-game season. It's not that. This has been going on now for 2 months. And a lot of these hitters who were outdoing their baseball cards have fallen right back to what they are. And that's the biggest problem. So I think I have every right to be at least concerned about where the Rays are heading right now, because I think as currently constructed, this is not a World Series winning lineup.
Oh, God, no. Not a
World Series winning lineup.
Not even close.
Because it's the same
not even close.
Last year, at the end of the day, who scored 1 run in 24 innings.
Exactly. And that's why when they went into the season, I said, 87 games. That's all they're going to win. I don't see any more than that. And obviously, they're going to better that. I hope, for God's sake. They're going to better that.
Really be going off the rails then.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be much better unless they make major moves. It's not if they don't make a major move, and I'm not talking about David Peralta, by the way. No. I'm not talking about a major move, a major bat. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of adjustments. Everything you just mentioned is exactly on point. Those are the numbers. That's the what. The why is they're not making adjustments. They're not making adjustments now that other teams have adjusted to the way they play. So they've got to adjust. Are they good enough? And that's where it's so hard in baseball. I mean, I was watching who's the closer last night for the Twins.
Johan Duran.
Jesus Christ. Throwing 104 like every effing pitch, bro. I'm sitting there eating my dinner last night, and I'm looking up, and I'm like, wow, he just threw 104. Wow, he just threw 104 again. Holy shit. He just threw 104. I mean, it's hard to hit. I get it. And it's hard to make adjustments in this league. These guys are really effing good. And we're going to see for 4 days the best back end of the bullpen in baseball in Baltimore, although they've cooled off a little bit.
But it's every pitcher now that's dicing the Rays up. I mean, Alex Morris, making his 3rd career start, had his way against the Rays. Brady Singer, who has not had a great year, kept his pitch count super low through 7 innings. The Rays eventually got to him, but it was too late. It's every pitcher they face right now. It's low pitch counts. The Rays are swinging at the first pitch way too much. They're striking out way too much. It's everything. And in regards to having a lineup to win a World Series, you need stars to win a World Series in your lineup. And look no further than recency. The Astros in 2022. How many stars do they have in their lineup? A ton.
Yeah.
The Braves, the Dodgers, the Nationals, the Red Sox, the Astros, the Cubs. That's going back to 2016. The last 7 World Series champions are loaded with either an MVP in that lineup or just flat out 3, 4, 5 stars to get big hits.
And this is what I'm talking about. These are major league proven hitters who have gone through the adjustment period and are consistent run producers. And you know what they do? They cost money. And we don't buy them. That's who we are as the Rays. Now, we can sit here and say, oh, we're in on Ohtani, and I'm not going to take the effing bait. I got people texting me, we're in on Ohtani. I'm like, I can't believe it until I see it. And it's just, this is a absolute setup for an overpayment by somebody in baseball. And that's not what the Rays do. They never overpay for anybody. They vastly underpay for every trade that they make. And so where is the DNA that says they're going to overpay for a rental of 2 months of Shohei Ohtani? I think it's complete bullshit. I think it's complete bullshit. It's just like Freddie Freeman. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. It's not who they are. And if they do, and I'm wrong, I'll be the first to say it. But I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it. Some stupid team's going to come in and give them a ridiculous haul for 2 months. No. And frankly, I don't want them to do it. I don't want them to overpay and give up 5 or 6 really good prospects because you know what? The guys down in AAA have a chance to be real hitters. Real hitters. The guys that are up here, I'm not so sure.
Here's the thing. We've been through this song and dance before. We hear about these great Rays prospects, and a lot of them have not panned out. At the end of the day, they are prospects. And I hear a lot of people saying, do you want to gut the Rays? The Rays have like the number 1 or number 2 farm system in baseball.
That's right.
Finding prospects and finding talent has never been their issue in the minors. So I don't get as concerned. And here's the thing. I know it's for 50 games, and it's no guarantee. But this is where I've shifted a little bit on this. I understand. But you have an opportunity to land the unicorn of Major League Baseball history. There's never been anything
for 2 months, Nick. For 2 months on a shitty team. This is not the team. Even I was joking about Ohtani, but even with Ohtani, is this team? I mean, there's a lot of holes in the lineup.
Let me paint the scenario for you here. What happens? Because I was listening to MLB Network yesterday. And John Morosi said it. He said Rays, Diamondbacks, and Orioles are 3 teams that are expected to make a real push for Ohtani in the coming days, depending on what the Angels want to do, yada, yada, yada. And I heard the Orioles, and the Orioles are starting to get talked about just like the Rays are in this whole thing. What is your reaction then? What if the Orioles, of all teams, in your division, you're fighting for an American League crown with this team, if anybody has a better farm system than the Rays, it's the Orioles. What if the Orioles were the team who landed Shohei Ohtani?
Who they giving up?
And then you've got a battle against them.
They giving up Allie Rushman?
Well, they don't have to give up that. They're going to give up.
You keep saying that. We don't have to give up Wander Franco to get Ohtani. Well, then how come he hadn't been traded?
You do not have to give up that to get him for 50 games. There's no way. Somebody's
going to overpay. And I'm telling you what. If the Orioles go get him for 2 months and they overpay and they give up some of these great young players that they have, I'm going to sit here and go, you idiots. You're idiots. You finally made it back since 2016. They finally get to first place. They've got an incredible nucleus of great young players. Why would you F that up for 2 months of Shohei Ohtani, who, by the way, strained his back the other night swinging? You know?
He got on base like 4 times yesterday. So
I know, but
I'm just saying, like, if you feel like you have the team, and the Rays feel like, regardless of what you think about the team,
they don't have the team. That's my point, Nick. This is not a good baseball. It's a good team. It's not a great baseball team.
But the Rays feel like this is their best chance to win. They've been kicking at the can for years. They feel like this is their best chance to win. So why not make a big uncomfortable?
This has been a less than 500 team for 2+ months.
I'm not disputing that.
Well, you can't go by the. Okay, they're still what 20 games over 500 or whatever it is. That's fantastic. But this team that we've seen for 2.5 months sucks. It's not good. It's not good. And they're one Tyler Glasnow oblique injury from being awful.
So here's my question: do you not want them? Here's I guess my question. Take Ohtani out of the equation. Any other player at the deadline? Are you opposed to them shelling out prospects, get anybody else to try to make this team better? Have you given up on the fact that you think they can't win a World Series?
If I'm the Rays, I'm divvying up those prospects and going out and getting 3 or 4 guys and guys that we control for more than 2 months. And making this team better this year and in the future. That's how you make your team better and give yourself just as good a chance. Here's the thing about Ohtani. He is the greatest player. You know what I think about Ohtani. You're getting 2 players. You're getting a number 1 pitcher and the best offensive player in the game. So you're getting 2 players. You're not getting 1. You're getting 2. So I get all that. But he's still one guy. And one guy can get an oblique injury. And one guy can get a back injury like he just had yesterday or 2 days ago. He's not Superman, although he looks like it. I get it. And the stress that his body is under on a daily basis to continue to do this, something that no one's ever done, that's the problem with Ohtani. He's a unicorn, there's no doubt about it. But, he's still human. He's still human as far as I know. As far as I know, until proven otherwise.
I can't go into it thinking, oh, well, what if he gets hurt? Like, you have to. You have to. It's part of the equation. We've had this discussion, whether it's I know the sports are different. Whether it's the Bucks, whether it's the Lightning, you have got to take risk to win a World Series.
No one knows that more than I. No one preaches that more than I.
As currently constructed, I don't think the Rays are that team right now in the American League. The way they've played the last 2 months, I think, has shown that. And I'm saying if you were somehow to land Ohtani, whatever the small chance it is, I think that has a chance to reignite a clubhouse right now that seems a little...
Oh, my God. Yes, of course it would. I'm not arguing that.
You put that guy in the middle of your lineup, and then in the rotation, you trot out McClanahan, Ohtani, Eflin, Glasnow.
Nope, no one is disputing that.
At that point, the Rays, I think, do become the favorite. Whereas if the Rangers get him, they're the overcoming favorite. If the Orioles get him, I think they're the overcoming favorite. That's the part that would hurt the most, is to see the Rangers or the Orioles, if it's one of those teams that somehow lands that guy. And now, as a Rays fan, I go, I don't see a path. At that point, I just don't see a path.
Well, look, the devil's in the details, man. The devil's in the details. And, do I want Ohtani? Oh, my God, yes, I want Ohtani more than sour cream on my fajitas. Absolutely. I want what you got to have. I mean, extra sour cream. I want him. I love him. I would love all those things you just said. I'm like, that'd be fantastic. I would love to see it, every part of it. But, man, give me some hope that he's going to be here more than 2 months. You know what I would love? I would love for the Rays to say, you know what? We're going to trade for him, and we're going to sign him to a 6-year contract. I'd be like, holy shit, this is unbelievable. Maybe Stu will take some of that $500 million that he put in the other company that he took from the Rays. Well, we're always going to put the money back into the team. Oh, here's a chance. Put it back in the team. Sign Ohtani. I'll give up the effing farm, the entire farm, the farmhouse, the farm wife, the farm daughter. Everybody goes for Ohtani if you pay him. But the Rays will never do that. They'll never do that. And I'll say this.
Look, first,
depending on what they give up, all right, they'll give a little bit of a codicil here. Okay, the team that gets Ohtani in the long term, if they don't sign him to a new deal right away, which everybody's saying that's not going to happen. If that team is going to regret it. They will regret it long term. I got to see what the package is, but my feeling is somebody's going to ridiculously overpay for him. And first of all, we have to say this other codicil caveat. If dumbass Artie Moreno says we're not trading him, and they give him up for a compensation pick, because I don't think he's going to re-sign in Los Angeles
but Artie
for
Moreno
the Angels.
Has to be 100% sure the fact that he's not signing Shohei Ohtani in the offseason to trade him. Other than that, it's like you're conceding that already. And
why wouldn't they have signed him already? If they were going to sign him, why wouldn't they have done it already? because Ohtani doesn't want to sign now. He's going to see what the open market brings.
Of course, and Ohtani should do that. But here's the other thing to consider about the Angels.
And Ohtani's been there so long. I would just have to say to him, if I'm Ohtani, I'm looking at this franchise going, they're not ever going to win anything. These people know what the F they're doing. And if you listen to Joe Madden, he knows a little bit about baseball, and he was in that organization. The Angels have no effing idea what they're doing. They're the dumbest organization in baseball. And you don't think Ohtani sees that? He ain't coming back. So if Moreno says, I'm not going to trade him, he's already effed it up. He should trade him in the offseason. Imagine the haul they would have got.
Maybe that's true, but he has to feel 100% confident that because imagine the heat he's going to get back from the fan base, from everything. And he's already, to me, like public enemy number one when it comes to Angel fans. Imagine the heat he's going to get if he's the guy who trades. That's on his headstone forever. I traded the greatest player that's ever played the game of baseball. Okay? That's a tough move for an owner to make, regardless of what's going on over there. And here's the thing. In regards to should they trade him or not, the fact of the matter is they're 4.5 games out of the wild card, which is not a crazy kind of – now, there's a lot of teams competing for those 2 wild card spots, but that's not a crazy kind of a difference to make up, really. So, and the fact that they just swept the Yankees and they're feeling good about themselves and everything, maybe they just go, you know what, we're not going to trade him because we feel like we're still in it. And again, what's the benefit of doing that if we feel like we're still in it? So there's just a lot of questions to be answered there.
Yeah, and it's, I tell you what, if you're in the front offices right now of, whatever organization you're in, I mean, and you're getting ready to pull the trigger on something, boy, I mean, you got to be sweating bullets because this is the biggest, it's the biggest name, it's the biggest acquisition. I mean, it's precedent setting. We've never seen anything like this before, and probably never will. And also a guy that the numbers, Nick, you're Nicky numbers. I mean, he leads everything in everything, pitching and hitting.
I mean, I even said it yesterday. Like everybody's like gravitating to the home runs, and I think he's on pace, by the way, to break Aaron Judge's record. By the way, if he keeps this going, but he also he walks, he gets on base, he leads the league in triples as well.
I know, I saw that last night.
And the triple is like one of those things that's like gone away in baseball over the years. He's like brought it back. He leads the league. Like he does everything you want. There's no denying that. And that's what makes it so hard, I think, if you're the Angels to say, you know what, we're going to move this guy. And it makes it so hard if you're a team, like, again, for 50 games, like, what are you going to shell out? And you may be right. Maybe there is a team out there that's willing to overpay out the yen to get him for 2 months because it's more than just getting him for the on the field. Think of the additional revenue, T-shirts, jerseys, interest in people coming to the ballpark. Like if the Rays got him, for example, don't you think there'd be a pretty good uptick in attendance too down the stretch to go out there? All of a sudden, it feels like wherever the stadium is, it probably wouldn't matter because we're going to see Shohei Ohtani. Like right. I think all those things play a role in it. It's like you're getting more than just 2 all-time players basically in Ohtani. You're getting all those things wrapped in one.
Listen, the prospect of getting him is incredibly mouth-watering. It's unbelievable. It's mind-numbing, to be quite honest, to see that guy in a Rays uniform. And I would love it. But you got to tell me what we're giving up. And I just don't want to give up the future. But and I would love to somehow be able to keep him for a long time. That would be great. I want to get a couple comments in here before we have to take a break. And we'll get to Rich Hollenberg coming up. We need some rich positivity today. We're going to get it. Lonnie Wilkins had some interesting things here to say. That the bloom is coming off the rose now for the Rays. Their prospects haven't really made an impact aside from a couple like Wander and Shane. This algorithm of the team could have traded prospects for controllable talent like Sean Murphy, but let them get this bad stretch out of the way. The front office has to make some adjustments if they don't grab your pitchers because they don't want to win. Listen, they've got to do something at the deadline. They've got to do something dramatic. We will see. The other good news is they were kind of in the same situation in 2021. They ended up winning 100 games and winning the East right. by 8. But that was, I think the East is a lot better this year.
Yeah, and also you have to tip your hat to the Orioles too. I mean, the Orioles are officially, maybe they're tied right now, but the Orioles are ahead on winning percentage because they have like 4 games up on the Rays right now in regards to how many they've played. Regardless of what the Rays did to start the season, the furthest they got out in front of everybody was 6.5 games. So historic start and all, the Orioles never let them get away. And the Orioles have done something crazy that I saw this stat this morning. They've gone 70 series in a row without getting swept, dating back to last year. So they don't have prolonged losing streaks. They continue to chip away, even if they're just winning one out of a 3-game set or anything like that. That's what's kept the Orioles in here. So you do have to give the Orioles credit for hanging around. And now here we go. This is the biggest series of the season to date by far. You get 4 games against the Orioles. What's going to happen?
All right, quick break. Coming up, Rich Hollenberg will join us, and we'll get some rich positivity here. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group and Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Back in 2. Stay with us.
Guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. So do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by. Never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa. And for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Coming back at you.
Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports.
It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group and Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Without further ado, let's bring in Rich Hollenberg for some much-needed rich positivity on this day when the Rays are no longer in first place. Oh, my God, the world is it's coming off its hinges, my friend. What's happening? How are you?
I am fantastic. JP and Nick, it's good to visit with you. It's been a minute. I heard you as you were going to break. You were touting the rich positivity I brought props with me. Bear with me.
All right, I love it. Stand by. I see the two Emmys now. We used to have one Emmy, we now have two. I have to point that out. Congratulations,
it is now three.
fantastic.
One resides in my parents' home. It's
Oh, very nice, very nice.
Here's your morning
Oh,
activity.
nice.
I won this at a silent auction recently, and just got delivered last week. So I didn't
Nice.
think anybody would appreciate this as much as JP.
The good old days.
That's right.
Good old days. That was vintage Bruce, man, with the big man. Oh man, that would be like getting Ohtani, bringing the big man back from the death.
Listen, I'm going to see Springsteen August 24th up in Foxborough. Maybe August is a special month for the Rays and Rich. Who knows?
It could be. But right now, man, this sure looks like a lot of like the end of last year offensively for this team. And we just went back and forth. Who is this team? Are they the 31-32 team of the last 2.5 months, or the 29-7 team that started the season? Who are these guys?
I think they are more what we saw in the beginning of this season than what we got unfortunately used to pretty much all of last year. And I'll give you the one reason why, JP. Injuries. Rays have been relatively healthy offensively, save for Brandon Lau missing a month. But you remember last year, Brandon Lau was non-existent. When he was healthy, he wasn't good, and he wasn't healthy for most of the season. Last year, Wander Franco missed a ton of time. Howard Ramirez missed a ton of time. This is a fairly healthy Rays offense. And while I kept telling everybody, as optimistic as I am, I kept telling everybody there's going to be a regression to the mean. Water will find its level. They are not going to hit 300 home runs this year. But it's slowed down and gotten to the point where, they are in a slump. There's no way of denying that. You could call it a rut. It's the same thing. It's a slump. The thing that makes me feel safe and sound about the Rays offense is that they are not going to continue going down. They will only bounce back up. I think they have too many good hitters to get in a team-wide slump like we've seen in the last few weeks. And yes, so here's the good and bad of it, fellas. 5 of their last 12 games, they've scored 1 run. 5 of their last 12. But the other 7 of those games, they're scoring runs in bunches still. It's not like every game out is 2 runs, 1 run. They're not getting shut out, things like that. I know it's, sometimes putting lipstick on a pig, but the facts are the facts. This is, I think, a recession-proof offense. What we're witnessing right now, what we're experiencing with all the Chicken Littles out there saying the sky's falling, is not what the Rays offense is. By the same token, it's not the offense that we saw the first 2 months of the season. It's somewhere in between, and with their quality pitching, that's good enough to not only make the playoffs but win this division.
And I don't know if that's true. And it's a 162-game season. You're going to go through stretches like that. It's impossible to keep up that pace. But given the fact that it's kind of happening right now, and we have the trade deadline looming, and I don't take Ohtani out of that. I know you got on me yesterday on Twitter, Rich. I know somebody can dream.
It's a pipe dream.
It's a pipe dream. I admit that every time I talk about it. But it, until it doesn't happen, it doesn't. Who knows? But anyway, regardless of Ohtani, take him out of the equation. Is it still, regardless of what's going on with the offense? Because I see at the bottom of the lineup, like the Taylor Walls, who, yes, great defense, but how much does it outweigh what he's doing offensively at the plate now? And the catcher tandem, Margot, the bottom of the lineup, which was really helping at the beginning of the year, has kind of regressed a lot. Does it still seem like, or if they want to get to where they want to be, and that's World Series kind of contender and championship team and all that, would you say the biggest need for them is still to go out and probably add something to this lineup?
A couple of weeks ago, Nick, and by the way, I'm so jealous of the nickname Nicky Numbers. I wish my name started with an N so I could be Richie Numbers. Wechter would say that I am regardless. A couple of weeks ago, I would have said, you're crazy for talking about trading for that. We need an arm, and we don't need a starting pitching arm. We need a bullpen arm. And I think my reasoning in that, fellas, is sound. My reasoning in that on the pitching side is when you get to the playoffs, and again, the Rays will be in the playoffs, you're shrinking your starting rotation to 3, essentially 3. Who in baseball would not go to war with Shane McClanahan, Zach Eflin, and Tyler Glasnow. I would do that compared to any starting staff in baseball, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So I don't think you need a starting pitcher. What you do need is to bolster a bullpen that I feel like at times has been walking a consistent high wire act. Colin Poche takes the mound. God bless him. He's avoided major disasters for most of the season, but you always feel like when he comes on, like, something bad could happen. And we saw that yesterday, too. Actually, the last 2 games, right? The Rays are in a 1-run game. It could go either way, and then a 3-run home run derails everything. So I think they still need to bolster the bullpen. Now, Nick, I'm falling more in line with what you're talking about. Maybe because the bullpen has continued to positively surprise me, and we are getting Andrew Kittredge back. And by the way, the reports have been off the charts about Kitty in minor league rehab. So if you get him back, that's an all-star. Again, not knowing if he's going to pitch like an all-star or not, that's a really good back end of the bullpen arm. You have Jason Adam, who looks like he's righted the ship. You have Pete Fairbanks. Those are 3 back ends of the bullpen arms. Okay? So again, thinking playoffs, you're set up that way. The other arms, Kevin Kelly and Colin Poche and maybe now Calvin Fauché, you mix and match. But just about every bullpen is doing that. Offensively, now I'm coming around to the idea that maybe there is some help that could come via the bat. And unfortunately, then it just becomes a waiting game of what teams are making what bats available. Because unless it's a Nelly Cruz type of a deal, which didn't really work out for the Rays when they did that, I don't know if it's worth it to give up more than you're going to be getting back, even for the short term.
Rich Hollenberg joining us here, the host for Bally Sports Sun pregame and postgame Rays baseball. Okay, and this is what I said in the open. I'm going to run this by you, Rich, and this is what scares me about this offense and your positivity here is all these guys I look in this offense. They're not long-term proven hitters that come out of slumps. They're not long-term. And even, is Wander going to be a great hitter? I think we all, but he hadn't proven it for a long period of time. He hasn't. It is what it is. Josh Lowe? No. Harold Ramirez? No. Brandon Lau? No. Yandy Diaz? Yeah. Yandy's 31 years old. He's proven. He's got a long track record. Randy Rosarena? He's streaky. Love him. Superstar. But he can be streaky. Paredes hasn't done it on long term. Luke Raley? No long term. Baseball's a game of adjustments. And when you can fight through the adjustments, you become a long-term great hitter, and you make a lot of money. None of these guys in the lineup, save a couple of them, have done it long-term. So that's what scares me about saying, they're definitely going to bounce back because they've done it before. I don't know that.
And I don't think anybody does, but I think what the Rays have done in constructing this lineup, JP, is they are banking on the fact that their depth will win out over the slumps that you're talking about, or the fact that these players have not proven that they could bust out of slumps or be, slump proof. I don't think anybody's slump proof. And I think you take a one or the other, and it's very rare to have both, right? You have a young lineup, relatively young. The Rays are one of the youngest teams in baseball, and they have one of the younger lineups in baseball. But then as we're, a couple of weeks away from the trade deadline, you start looking at numbers, right, and quantity and quality of players.
Yeah,
and
they've got a lot of them.
The 2 names that come to mind as far as trade pieces that the Rays would have to kind of swallow hard to part with, because I don't think they want to part with anybody. Honestly, you could say what you want about Brandon Lau, about Taylor Walls. They don't want to get rid of these guys. But Brandon Lau is making millions of dollars, and Manuel Margot signed that extension. He's making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
This is a newfangled Rays team. They spent $40 million on Zach Eflin. They're getting a huge bump, one of the biggest in baseball, in attendance this year.
Yeah.
They're unveiling 2 statues outside the field. We never
and
thought.
One's not Rich Hollenberg? What the hell's going on here?
Believe me, I'm firmly against that idea. But the fact is that they still are the Rays, and they still have a way of operating in terms of how they spend their money. So if you're trying to put together a package for even a Shohei Ohtani, which I think is the farthest of long shots you could get, and I hope I'm wrong because he is a game changer in every sense of the word. But if you put a package like that together, I don't know if the Rays farm system is as strong as it has been in last years, where teams are like salivating, like, oh my gosh, we could pick apart and take 3 or 4 names out of the Rays farm system, and those will be major leaguers in a year or two, and we're good to go. I don't know if those names exist in the Rays farm system right now, but Brandon Lau and Manuel Margot, to my mind, would be 2 of the names that the Rays would have to be willing to part with, if for no other reason than because of the salaries that they're currently making. But I think that all of these players together collectively make themselves better. So you can say, JP, and I'll take the opposite side of what you're saying. We haven't seen Luke Raley, Josh Lowe battle out of a slump, and we haven't seen how they – but what we have seen is almost 3/4 of the way – we're at game 100 tonight. Yeah. These players are who they are. So is Josh Lowe the Josh Lowe from the first 2 months of the season when everyone was saying he could be an all-star? So the Josh Lowe now where people are saying, oh, my gosh, he's slumping. No, he's somewhere in between. Right. And when you take the lineup collectively, I think that's good enough to get you deep into the playoffs. I don't know if winning the World Series is what you could hang your hat on right now. Certainly 2 months into the season, everyone was thinking that. But now it's a toss-up. It's them, it's the Rangers, and it's the Orioles, and I think everyone else is chasing those 3 teams.
That's fair. And also, I mean, assuming these guys don't get dealt, and I'm talking about some of the guys who are really kind of shining in AAA, obviously Jonathan Aranda is the big one. I think we all clamor to see him up here, but they can't really find a position for him. And, it seems like maybe the kind of what Harold does playing DH and everything seems like he's almost blocked by him. But even the other, Curtis Mead, who's been fantastic. I think he's hitting like close to 500 since he came back from his injury. I mean, we've seen, like, I use the Reds as an example. They brought up a lot of their top prospects, and they're still doing it. Like this in Carson or Strand or whatever, he hit a home run in his debut. Like Ellie De La Cruz, obviously Spencer Steer. Like it's jolted that team and put them into contention. Are those 2 guys in particular, like you give them a call up just to see something, maybe get a jolt to this offense here in the second half?
Not if you're in or right around first place in the American League East. I mean, again, JP's point is well taken. Why do you want to, and I'll use this term loosely, why do you want to gamble on a Jonathan Aranda or a Curtis Mead or a Kasabi or any of these names who are performing at trips? Why would you want to gamble on them performing in September? I mean, they'll get called up in September soon enough. That's a month away, essentially. That's 5 weeks away. I'd rather let them wait and marinate a little until then than say, well, we're in such a bad place right now that we need a jolt to our offense. They don't need someone else coming in. They just need Brandon Lau to go on one of his streaks that we've seen he's able to do. And let's face it, he's shown that he is trending in that direction.
Yes.
A lot of people like to dump on B. Lau, but he's got, I think, 5 or 6 extra base hits since he's come back. If he starts hitting a little, and these are all ins, if he starts hitting a little, if Wander Franco breaks out, which I think we would all say chances are better than good that he's going to. Yandy is right as rain at the top of the order. Luke Raley, Josh Lowe, you take a combination of those 2 dudes and what I ride with what you're going to get out of that. I don't think, to your point, Nick, I don't think there's enough space to want to quote unquote gamble on one of these hot AAA bats right now.
Rich Hollenberg joining us here. And you've skirted around the Ohtani thing, but let's dig in now because I'm trying to talk my man here, Nick, off the ledge. This is, first of all, the whole Ohtani thing, I don't buy any of it. I think it's a smoke screen for the Rays to be doing something else. That's the way they do business. And they don't give up the farm for guys like this. They're not going to trade their entire future for a guy like this. And I believe somebody's going to grossly overpay for Ohtani. And in the end, they'll regret a 2-month rental for a guy that probably won't win them the World Series. He could. He's unbelievable. I get it, but it scares me. When I saw him back twinge the other night, I was like, oh, can you imagine if you give up the farm for 2 months of this guy and he gets a 2-month back injury? Oh, my God. I mean, that's just you can't come back from it. That puts your franchise back 5 years. You can't do it.
It's a really fun conversation to have.
Yeah,
and
right.
I would love to be wrong because I would love to be in the middle of the Shohei Ohtani experiment and experience. Yes. But the thing that I draw the line at is, I'm listening to MLB radio and they're talking about you have to pitch Ohtani the way you pitched Barry Bonds. You have to walk him, even if the bases are loaded. I'm like, baseball is a game of averages and numbers. Even if Shohei Ohtani is hitting 500, which he's not, that means half the time he's getting out. Like, it's not like 9 out of 10 times the guy is hitting you a home run. No one is that good, and no one has ever been that good. The thing that makes him so attractive is he is a world-class hitter. Like, Nick, you mentioned it before I came on. He is on pace for Aaron Judge numbers last year, and we were falling all over ourselves about Aaron Judge. And then he is an all-star caliber pitcher. He's not the best pitcher in baseball, guys. Right. He is not. He is a really good pitcher, but he is not the best pitcher in baseball, okay? He's the best player in baseball because he's a really good pitcher and arguably the best hitter when you combine power numbers.
Yeah.
He would be a great fit on any team. And every team who has a reason to is going to inquire what it's going to take to trade for Shohei Ohtani. So that's the thing that really surprises me and makes me wonder and get a little tingly is when you hear names that I trust. Names like Ken Rosenthal and John Morosi saying the Rays are one of the top teams in the running. Now, that might just be faint praise for the Rays as an organization. It might not be they're most serious about trading for Shohei. It might be they just have the most pieces to throw at the Angels to get Shohei Ohtani. My bet at the end of the day is that Shohei stays exactly where he is. That's that. If you put a gun to my head and said, what's going to happen? My guess is nothing's going to happen. I just can't imagine a team giving up so much for the potential of only 2 months and zero guarantees that that's going to put you over the top and win you a World Series.
Yeah, and I kind of said, too, like, it's one thing to say, oh, we're out of contention, we don't think we can re-sign him, we're going to trade him, but when it's what people think is the greatest player that's probably played this game as an owner, Artie Moreno, who's already going through it with Angels fans, that is like, I mean, that goes on your headstone forever is kind of what I said. You are the guy who traded Shohei Ohtani, and I don't think they're far out enough of the race right now. I mean, I think they're playing like the Pirates and the Tigers, their 2 series going into the deadline. Is it out of the possibility they could win 5 of those 6 games? And then, I mean, right now they're like 4.5 back. They just swept the Yankees, who couldn't help out the whole trade sweepstakes. They probably killed their own chances of getting Ohtani by losing those games, if you think about it. It's like if you're Artie Moreno, you have to be 110% sure I cannot sign this guy in the offseason. And does Artie Moreno really know that right now? I don't know the answer there.
No, he doesn't, but nobody does. And the one thing that I would say when you were just talking about, do you want that on your headstone? The one thing that's going to be on his headstone maybe before that is that he signed Mike Trout to that ginormous deal. Yeah. And there aren't many teams, maybe the Yankees are the only team. Yankees and Dodgers are the only team that could carry 2 ginormous contracts on their payroll. Artie Moreno would come close, and I think at the end of the day, these owners are all businessmen. And when it comes down to brass tacks, it's not, I don't want this as part of my legacy. It's, does this make zero financial sense for me? Like, how much money am I going to lose versus how much money am I going to make? They gambled on Mike Trout. It's always a gamble. And now Mike Trout's out. And that Mike Trout injury not only hurts the status of that huge contract that he signed, but it also hurts the fact that they might want to keep Shohei Ohtani and win a World Series with him and Mike Trout as the centerpieces, because now we're never going to know this season. When Trout comes back, who knows what he's going to be like, but the extended period of time that Mike Trout is missing right now could very well be costing the Angels a playoff spot. And then once you get to the playoffs with Shohei and Trout, all bets are off. So it's unfortunate that that's part of the game.
Rich Hollenberg joining us here. All right, Rich, we'll get you out on this. Richie P says, because I have not heard this, and I'm probably sure you have you seen Springsteen's interview with Howard Stern? I'm not a fan of either, but at points it gave me goosebumps. It was so good. I did not see it. What's he talking about?
Oh, this was a few months ago already, JP, and
yeah.
they made it available. I believe it's on HBO on the Max app if you have that. I'm pretty sure that's where it is. I don't think it's on Netflix. I listened to it when it happened. I am a big Stern fan, and the one thing about Howard Stern that I would try and sell you on is that he's gotten away from all the antics, and he's gotten much more into like long form interviews. So he had a couple of hours to sit down with Bruce, and it was literally in a studio, him and Bruce, and no one else. And Howard was at his best in terms of question asking, and Bruce, to his credit, was at his best answering those questions and being open, and it was just phenomenal. It was absolutely, he played a few songs, told his stories. It was I'm sure you've seen the net. I forget. Did you go to Broadway? Did you see him on Broadway?
Did not see. No, did not see the Broadway.
Netflix Broadway special though.
Yeah.
Okay. It is close to that. It's not quite as good as that, but it is close to that in terms of the intimacy that you get with Bruce. It is worth the watch.
I will definitely do that. Well, you guys are worth the watch. What do we got? Talk about a huge series.
First of all, my pressing question for the pregame broadcast, if Doug's on it this weekend, is the cowboy hat, has it's made its way to Tampa Bay?
It better.
Can we add a bolo tie or something like Kevin?
Come on now, Nick. I thought a bolo tie and the hat?
Yeah, Kevin Kelly looked very well by the way.
Kelly rocked it. Kelly rocked it. I did a Twitter poll, and Kevin Kelly won fair and square. Who wore it best? Doug's actually off this weekend. He's at a baseball tournament with his son in Hoover, Alabama. Caden Wechter is going to be the next big baseball star. Mark my words. But Denard Span is on with me, and we are going to obviously 100 games today is a fun kind of look back point. You know, you get to this certain peak, and you're like, okay, the first 100 games. Let's look back at that. So we'll be doing a little bit of that. And this is one of those series that really speaks for itself. The other thing to keep in mind is Hall of Fame weekend is coming up. So we'll be talking a lot about Freddie McGriff as well. And it's great to have someone like Denard sit next to me because Denard's a Tampa product, made it to the big leagues. Fred McGriff, is one of those guys that we loved when he was part of the Tampa Bay Rays as well. And I don't know if we're going to get to interview Fred ourselves, if he's coming on set or what. But the fact is that, Tom Amansky is smiling down on Fred McGriff this weekend for sure. And we will be too, celebrating along with him.
I got a hat that's got a high top here. It looks very much like the Omansky Fred McGriff working right now. So, yeah.
We'll have to do that in his honor this week.
Oh, absolutely. And we had Freddie on right after the announcement, just the best of the best. He's going to come on with us next week. And after I can't wait to watch his speech and everything. That smile is going to be so big. And it's always big anyway, but it's going to be so fun to watch. And I'll say this. I am so glad this year that the Rays have embraced their past and now have this Hall of Fame and the statues. And it's been a long time coming. We need an old timers day. I think we're old enough now to have an old timers day, right? And have the boys come out and play a little softball or baseball or whatever. But that would be super fun to have some of the names from the past come out. So, but they've done a great job with it this year. And kudos to the Rays for embracing their past and starting this Hall of Fame. It's really cool.
Yeah, and on that note, I can't end this interview without wishing our dear friend a very happy birthday. I still have about 20 or 25 years to go till I reach that mark. But
you look that way. Yes, you look that way.
Happy birthday, my friend, and many more.
60. I can't believe I'm 60, but man, I've been doing some reminiscing this past week or so through pictures, and boy, it has been a glorious ride, man. And the time that we spent together in those studios at HSN just for a couple of years on SportsSource was one of my favorite things in my career. We had so much fun. Made some nice jack too.
Yeah,
so much fun. That was one. All right, Rich. Thanks, man. We'll be watching tonight the Emmy Award-winning Rays pre- and post-game with Rich Hollenberg and Denard Span and the boys. Thank you.
See you, boys.
Great stuff. Best in the business right there. So good. So smooth. The great Rich Hollenberg. All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back. Going to digest a lot of what Rich said and bounce back a lot of that. We're going to get to the NIL story here at the top of the 11 as well. This is a big, big breaking story. We kind of teased it in the beginning. Congress has now floated a bill that will radically, and I mean radically change, I think for the better, what's going on in college athletics. So we'll get to that and so much more. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, Bay Area Modern Medical Center. If you're looking to lose weight, if you're looking to get on that True Body machine that they have over there that's working miracles, put you on that machine, makes you like doing 50,000 sit-ups. It leans you up. It melts the fat. It's incredible. So check out that on the Bay Area Modern Medical Center website, BAMMC.com. Get your nutrition right. Get a new primary care. It's so interesting to sit down with a doctor for a minute or an hour and a half like I did with Chris Lugo and talk about your health history and get it right. So you can do that too. Just get your appointment at BAMMC.com. Back in 3. Stay with us.
All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to italianoinsurance.com.
During COVID, over 1.7 million people were added to the Florida Medicaid rolls, but as of April 1st, 2023, most of these people may not be eligible for the Medicaid coverage and will lose their health plan. If you have been notified you are losing your coverage, don't freak out. It's very likely you can apply for a federal subsidy under the Affordable Care Act. Just call 877-652-0244. Our representatives will walk you through the whole process, get some basic information on your income, number of kids, and then they'll find a plan that best fits your needs. In fact, with the new laws, 90% of Americans qualify for reduced or free health care. You can select great plans like Florida Blue. That's my carrier. Love them. Paying $800 left after making the call. 877-652-0244. Our highly trained professionals know all the intricacies of the new laws. They will do all the work, you save tons of money. So if you're being dropped from Medicaid, fear not. Call 877-652-0244. Get real health insurance, free doctor visits, free blood work, no deductibles. 877-652-0244. Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa. And for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio, visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Let's rock.
This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Golden Diamond Source. Great folks over there. If you're looking to get engaged in summer, which a lot of people do, why not head on over to the Golden Diamond Source? They have the best selection. Of course, the Diamond Savings Account. You can take that diamond back and upgrade it anytime and get 100% of its value. That is a very, very good deal, folks. And if you're a youngster, like my man Nick, I'm sure she's already looking for the upgrade, right? You can go back and get that, get 100% of what you paid, and you can upgrade. So go do it at the Golden Diamond Source.
Well, I'm here to tell you, I landed in the doghouse temporarily yesterday.
Well,
you want to? This goes back to what I alluded to earlier. This quick story. I got home yesterday, and it was really Casey was not there at the house, and I remember her saying in the morning that she was taking Riley to the Davis Island Dog Beach. So I didn't hear Riley or anything, and I was just like, oh, I guess maybe you're at her parents, or they're still out or whatever. So I made my lunch, sat down, watched the race game and all that, did the whole thing. And then Casey gets home at like 3:15. I've been there for like 2.5 hours. And she walks in, she goes, "Where's Riley?" And I'm like, he was with you. You're not here. She runs upstairs, and our dog was sitting upstairs in his crate the entire time that I was home yesterday, and I had no idea that he was home. I completely forgot about him.
And not even a whimper?
No, but that's the thing. You'd think he'd make a noise or something.
Well, if he heard you, yeah.
Not a single noise. And what's funny is right before she got home, like 5 minutes before, I went upstairs, and we're doing like renovation right now in our house upstairs. So our bedroom is kind of like everything resides in there. So like even like the guinea pigs are in our room too. I went up there to literally feed the guinea pigs, and Riley's crate is right next to theirs. And he didn't
see your dog.
I never went on the side where like the opening is, so I never looked in there or anything. Because at this time I'm thinking he's not even home, but he didn't even make a noise, like not a move in the crate, nothing. So I got in trouble for that one yesterday. But
yeah, I guess you did. Well, what? She didn't go to the dog park? She ended up not going?
She did, but she had already brought him back and was out running errands or whatever.
Oh, I missed that part. Oh my God. You effed up. That's not but I could see your side of it. If you don't hear the dog and you just assume he's out, yeah.
It's just you would think I would have noticed it or gone upstairs.
Well, the dog wasn't.
Happened.
The dog didn't die. It's gonna be.
He was okay. He was okay. He didn't look at me though. When I took him out of the crate finally, he just immediately ran by me and didn't look at me.
Well, maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't want to see you. That's why he was hiding from you.
Exactly.
Ruminate on that for a little bit. Yeah, that'll be a little look in the mirror on that one. So yeah, all right. So quick story here. I'm flying out here. I'm like all excited because my folks at 3B got me a great first class ticket from Tampa to Las Vegas. Right, want to get to lay back in the bed seat. Right, they bring you food and drinks, the whole nine. I'm like, this is gonna be great. So I'm traveling out of Orlando, which by the way, F Orlando Airport. You people suck. The TSA is so bad over there. I'm sitting there. This is a true story. So, I get right to the front of the line where they're going to take the IDs and stuff, right? and they just stop. They stop taking them because everything's getting bogged down. I'm like, why is it getting so bogged down? People aren't going through. It's like it's taking forever. In Tampa, you just get right through. It's unbelievable. I'm never wait more than 5 minutes ever to get through TSA. So they stop the line for like 10, 15 minutes, and then finally they start taking them. So now we get in the other line to get in there. And now I can see the whole thing going down, why it's not working. They're not doing their jobs. Like they're just people just sitting around just doing nothing. There's like 4 open lanes that they're not even using. And there's people just sitting around doing nothing. So I finally get through, and when you get through the, hands up deal, right? So now you're on the other side waiting for your stuff to come down the little conveyor belt. So there's a big, one of those big plexiglass things that extends about 12, 15 feet from the x-ray machine. And all the stuff, everybody's stuff it's gone through the x-rays. We're all sitting there waiting for it. And it's just sitting on the roller because nobody's pushing it down. And there's like 2 people within 5 feet sitting on their ass that could stand up and push the stuff down. So I said, well, hey, let me see if I can reach it. So I go to reach around the plexiglass, right? And and the guy yells at me, hey, don't reach. I'm like, well, can you push it down? We're kind of waiting for our airplanes here. I'm going to be late for my plane, as is everybody else. You think you could push it down? And he's like, gets up out of his chair, walks the whole 5 feet, doesn't say a word, begrudgingly starts pushing them down towards everybody. What the F? What do you, like, nobody gives a shit anymore. So so then I get to the gate, and Delta, wow. Nice people, 7-hour delay. 7-hour delay. So I missed my connection in Atlanta. They got to rebook me. But thankfully, so then I'm like, okay, I got to wait here for another 4 hours here in the Orlando airport. So I'll give Delta a little attaboy on this one. So I go to the Delta Sky Club, and I'm like, hey, I used to be a member. I'm not anymore. But here's my story, right? And the lady's listening to me. She's listening to me. And she's looking at my ticket. It's a first class ticket. So she knows I paid a lot for this thing. So then I take my ID. She goes, let me see your ID. And she takes my ID, and I go, you might notice on there that it's my birthday too. It's my 60th birthday. And she goes, oh, happy birthday. She's like, well, you got a raw deal here. So go ahead in the club. And the club was sweet, baby. It was sweet. It was Taco Tuesday. And they had a taco bar laid out. The best red pepper, it was a roasted red pepper Gouda tomato bisque soup I've ever had in my freaking life. It was unbelievable. The food was off the chain. Free drinks, really good IPA from somewhere in Florida. I forget the name, but it was really good. I should remember it. So I sat there just pounding IPAs, eating and drinking. Haagen-Dazs. It was ridiculous. Got on my flight finally to Atlanta. Took a snooze in the bed. Then the 4-hour flight to Las Vegas, first class. Got a meal. Haven't had a meal on a plane in forever. Had a meal. It's fantastic. It was actually good food.
You always find a way to somehow get around your bad situations. You have a way of speaking. I've been there with you before. You have a way of speaking to people to get around a bad situation. It's all in the tone and the delivery.
It's a gift. I will say that. It's a gift.
Whereas I go and I'm sweating, I'm getting blushing and everything, and it's I just have no absolute conviction in what I'm saying, and they know that I'm full of shit.
You gotta own it. I am an expert bullshitter. Let's just be honest.
Yes,
I'm the king of the king. It's a gift. The good Lord has blessed me. So yes, it has helped me in the many, many situations. My kids, we call it the I can't really say it on the air. Well, why not? The JP and Peterson vibe.
Yeah, you've never waited in a line in your life. It's hilarious to me, and you have to be around you at certain events to see it. You don't wait in lines. You get in a line. You do one of those where you look overhead, you look around, and you're like,
"There's always a way."
And you're
just always a way.
You're just like, "Nah, doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for me."
And it's not an elitist thing. It's just a zero patience thing.
You have no patience.
I just have no patience. But normally, it's unbelievable how people will get in lines that they don't need to even be in. Like I'd say 75% of the time I do that. I go find another line that there's nobody in because people they see a line and they get in it. I don't know why people do that. They do on the interstate or whatever. It's like, no, I'm not waiting in that line. No way. You go up, and then you always find a nice place to grab in. You're not slamming in, but there's always somebody on their phone texting that forgets to go, and they leave you a nice little space. You just slide right in. You're not being a jerk. You're not slamming. You're not that guy that goes up to the end and slams in. Not doing that. There's always somebody who's not paying attention, so you slide right in. Don't wait in lines that you don't have to wait in, for God's sake.
I'm that guy every day on the way to the studio. It's on the Selman in the morning.
Don't be that guy.
They're like doing construction and it goes down to one lane. I'm the guy who will hold up the entire line trying to merge over because I hate being the guy that goes all the way to the last cone and just sits there. I hate that.
Yeah, that's not cool. Yeah. And so yesterday, what I was doing out here in Vegas, so I was working for this company. So I don't know if you saw the video on my story, but they have these ballistic walls where that bullets cannot penetrate. My friend Dom, who owns the company, has come up with this incredible polymer made of recycled materials that he engineered. And it's like a foot thick, like a regular concrete wall. A 50 cal would just blow a hole in it, like nothing. His walls are unbelievable. Bullets cannot penetrate. So we do these demonstrations, and I film them, and they do these videos for them, and it's unbelievable. We're sitting there with a 50 cal, like Omaha Beach, 50 cal, with a belt feeder and everything. And you're like, and the wall, it's splattering off the wall, but you can't go through the wall. We must have put 6,000 rounds of 50 cal through this thing. Couldn't break through the wall. It's unbelievable. I've got the video on my story from yesterday. I'll put some more stuff up, but it's crazy. So we're doing these videos, and we're getting out, and it was like 110 degrees out there. It's down here in Vegas. It looked freaking believable.
It did look brutal.
It's so hot, but it's a really cool vibe. It's not far from Area 51, which I had to go check out that a little bit. And you got jets. They're from the a lot of Air Force activity out here. So you got the fighter jets flying over all the time, and we're shooting 50 cals and shot an M14 for the first time, an automatic M14, like off the shoulder. Man, the power of those things. And then the 50 cal, they had a 50 cal single shot, like a sniper rifle. Oh my God, bro! And it's on a tripod, so you're sitting there holding this thing, and and I've listened to everybody else shoot it, and it sounds like it rattles the entire shooting range. I mean, the concussion of this weapon is unflipping believable. But you put it on your shoulder and you hit that thing. I mean, it's like your whole body feels it, the power of that weapon. And we shot it through at this wall for, I don't know how many shots we took, and couldn't go through it. It's unfreaking believable. But that kind of firepower, they say war is hell. I can't imagine taking one of those bullets, which is about that long. Like, people take those bullets and survive. I don't know how they do it. There was one guy who's in the military, actually was in Afghanistan and got hit by three 50 cal shots. I don't know how he survived, but he survived. He's fine. So, but man, it is when you fire those weapons, that's the real deal. That is the real freaking deal. And I would not want to be on the receiving end of any of those things. No way. All right. I don't know how we got off on those tangents, but I hope you guys enjoyed that stuff. All right. Couple of, before we get to the NIL deal, Joel Robinson, welcome aboard. I don't know if I've seen his name before. I would trade Belau and Margot with a smile on my face, two of our worst extensions. When Rich floated that, he said, I'd hate to see him go. I was like, I don't know. I think I might pack their bags.
Well, Manuel Margot, if you can believe it, other than Zach Eflin, is the highest paid player on the Rays.
And when he signed that contract, I was like, we were together when we looked at each other, and we were like, of all the players for the Rays to give out for their standards a pretty good chunk of money, Manuel Margot, he just has not looked right this year at all. No. Even in the outfield, he cost them a game against Kansas City. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, this is one of the great anomalies in baseball history. How can you have Ohtani and Trout and be like weren't they under 500 last year? Like
I don't know it's hard to make sense of it. Like, you can look at, they've given out bad deals like the Anthony Rendon one, but, like, Anthony Rendon finished, like, second in the MVP in 2019, won the World Series with the Nationals. Like, I feel like that was a justified contract to give out. And then he just decided to take a shit for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
He can't stay healthy. It's like, but this year they gave Tyler Anderson, like, 3 years, $50 million or something after one resurgence year with the Dodgers. I could have seen that coming, that he was going to fail.
Well, when you talk to Joe Madden, and we got to get him on the show, been threatening that, but we're going back and forth, getting a good time. But he, the Angels just have gone full analytics, like no experience in the manager, like just shut up. Here's your lineup. Here's your sheet. Just do what we say, and that's why they are where they are. They're just. You can't go 100% analytics. You can't do it. It's just stupid. There's still a human element to the game.
They also developed. There was like a study done on this, like around MLB draft season, and like going back to like 2010, and this is post because Trout was drafted in 2009. They've developed like the least amount of talent from the MLB draft that's made its way to the big leagues. The Angels are dead last.
Yeah, in
Major League Baseball. That tells you everything you need to know as well. They don't do a
terrible
good job
organization.
of drafting and developing.
It's a terrible organization, top to bottom. They lucked into Mike Trout and paid him Otani. They're just a terrible organization.
And Trout, the problem with Trout, I hate to break it to people, Mike Trout's prime, it's over.
That's right.
It's over. The injuries are piling up, and he was struggling this year, by the way, before he got injured. This is not a typical Mike Trout season. He's just been out of sync. And that goes back to the World Baseball Classic, where he really was kind of a liability in that entire
He was.
kind of run.
Yeah, remember watching that and just going, wow.
Yeah, like when he came up against Otani, and it was like the greatest at-bat of all time. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, Trout's not getting a hit on this guy.
Yeah,
he doesn't have it. So you have to deal with what, like 8 more years of that contract or whatever for the back half of Mike Trout? This is like Pujols Part 2.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a terrible organization. That's why Otani is not going to re-sign there. And that's why they should have traded him in the offseason. But Artie Moreno was like, I'm not trading Otani. And I know what you said about the legacy, but you can't think that way, man.
You can't think that way about the business part of it.
Yeah, you can't think that way. It's not. It's
because I've been saying the same thing too about, because I'm looking at it from a strictly baseball point of view. I do that a lot. And I was thinking too, when people say the Rangers, I'm like, does Artie Moreno really want to trade Shohei Ohtani to his? I think that's like the Angels' biggest rival in their division. Of all the teams, I think it's like the Rangers.
Maybe.
And I'm like, you're going to trade him to your division rival and try to help them win a World Series? And what happens if the Rangers – because I think the Rangers are a team, if they land Ohtani, they'd have as good a chance of anybody that's not on the West Coast.
They already have Aroldis Chapman?
Yeah. I feel like that'd be a tough sell. But if you get the best deal, you get the best deal, I suppose.
I said at the time when the Rangers made that trade, I said the Rays – that was because the Rangers are we may play them in the playoffs at some point. There's a good chance that can happen.
Let's go get Josh Hader then.
All right, well let's do it. We got it. What are the Rays doing? They're sitting on their hands right now.
Well, everybody's sitting on their hands. There's not really anything going on right now. This is all going to come down. We still got a week.
Chapman was traded.
Movement.
Chapman was traded. That happened
beforehand. Like the Orioles just made an under the radar move yesterday, getting Shintaro Fujinami. Love that name. From the Orioles, from the A's. By the way, I have a bone to pick with Greg Amsinger yesterday in MLB Network. You don't know how they presented that deal? They put up all this whole breaking news and everything. And Greg was like, we have breaking news at MLB Network. A 29-year-old Asian pitcher Japanese pitcher has been traded, and he's on your screen right now. And it's Shintaro Fujinami throwing to Shohei Ohtani. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
He was trying to be funny and creative.
Well, I didn't think it was funny. I thought we had Code Red going on right here. I thought the Orioles landed Ohtani, and all they did was land Shintaro Fujinami in his ERA.
Psych. Yeah, I'd like to see the Rays do something. I'm telling you, and I was against Chapman because of the off-the-field stuff. And I didn't, but evidently he's got a hold of that, and he's throwing 103, so
he looks amazing. He's so fun to watch again. No matter what you think about the guy from a personal standpoint on the field, he's just fantastic this season.
Maybe he's finally grown up. All right, we got to take another break. We'll hit the break and we'll come back and we'll talk some college football. This groundbreaking NIL legislation from the Congress is out. It's on the table. We're looking at it. We're seeing what's in it. This is going to be the biggest story in college football probably till the season starts. So we're going to give you a first look at it. I think it's good. It's good stuff. We're brought to you by the great folks at Extravaganza Production. If you have an event coming up, big or small, they are the folks to help you out. They've got a warehouse full of props. Their creativity is off the charts. If you don't know what to do with your big charity event, let them help you. They'll give you a free creative consultation if you mention the JP Show. Just go to their website, extravaganzaproductions.com, contact them and say, hey, JP said I get a free creative workshop. That's right, you do. So come on in. They'll tell you what they can do with your party and your event, whatever you have, big or small. They'll do it all. Extravaganza Production, great folks over there. Paul Thomason and Dolly, my friends, work with them a lot. They are fantastic. So hit them up and make your party the best it can be. Back in 3.
JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to jeeveslawgroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to jeeveslawgroup.com. Ladies and gentlemen, are you looking to lose weight or just lean up for bathing suit season where there are so many diets and chiropractors and weight loss clinics out there? You don't know where to start, right? We'll start at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo, PA, and his professional staff will devise a personal plan for you that gets results and will help you keep the weight off. Everybody metabolizes food and supplements differently. Many of these other approaches are designed for the masses. So how's that going to work for you specifically? It's not. Chris will spend one-on-one time with you to find out what works best for you so the weight comes off safely without the use of harmful drugs and side effects. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to italianoinsurance.com. Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated. EPI, you've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa, and for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, coming to you live from Vegas, where it's 1,000 degrees out here. And Nick Geddes is back here in our RHS TV studios in beautiful downtown, it's not quite downtown St. Petersburg, but it's in St. Pete. We're coming to you. We had Rich Hollenberg on from his mansion in Snell Isle. He's got a great pad over there, by the way.
Mansion, huh?
Yeah, beautiful place over there. And we're brought to you by the great folks at American Mortgage Services. If you're looking for a loan or a refi, Scott Fitzgerald is the man. Contact him at scott@amstampa.com. A lot of crazy things going on in the mortgage industry right now, and interest rates are going up, but your credit cards are high too. So if you got high credit cards, get that refi done. Your home still has that value before the crash comes. So suck that money out right now while you can. Talk to Scott about it. He's got all the info. Just did a workshop the other day for a bunch of realtors and stuff. He's really, really good. Scott@amstampa.com. He'll have a free consultation with you. He'll sit down with you and go over all your finances and tell you where you should be, where you can get to, what the mortgage is going to look like, refi. He does all that stuff for you. So take advantage of his great experience. Get him at scott@amstampa.com. All right, so I wanted to get into this NIL bill. If you're a college football fan or college sports fan, it's a big deal. It's being drafted. It's in a draft, discussion draft is what they call it right now. And it's a bipartisan bill brought forth by Senators Richard Blumenthal, Jerry Moran of Kansas, Republican, and Cory Booker, Democrat, New Jersey. Don't trust Cory Booker in a lot of different things, but he was a D1 athlete, and he's been on top of this and has really done a lot of great stuff with this legislation. So the bill is called the College Athletes Protection and Compensation Act, and it would preempt the state NIL laws. And this is what Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, was talking about the other day, how the different laws in Texas and Missouri and other places are giving them a huge advantage over other states, especially Florida, by the way. So this would supersede all those laws and put it under one umbrella. The bill proposes the formation of the College Athletics Corporation, CAC, which would be a central oversight entity that would set, administer, and enforce rules and standards to protect athletes who enter into endorsement contracts. The CAC would establish rules and investigatory process to enforce this law. There would be a 15-member board of directors that would oversee the CAC, and at least 5 board members must be current or former college athletes. I like that. The CAC would have its own constitution and bylaws. By the way, there's 15 members on the board of directors. 5 of them, I think they should have 5 former athletes and 5 current athletes and 5 of the other muckety mucks, because I don't want the muckety mucks having all the power. We saw what they do with it. Not good. So I would disagree with that point right there. The CAC would have its own constitution and bylaws. It would also have subpoena power and could be used to compel deposition testimony on behalf of the NCAA if it has appropriate requests. Kind of scares me a little bit there. The discussion draft includes, but is not limited to, the following: Athletes would be allowed to have representatives such as agents, and those representatives would need to be certified by the CAC. Schools would not be able to represent athletes in endorsement contract negotiations. Big deal. I like that. Keep the schools and the players separate and let the players have representatives. Point number 2, schools would be prohibited from punishing athletes for receiving food, rent, medical expenses, insurance, tuition, fees, books, and transportation from a third party. Great stuff. Should have done this years ago. Schools also be required to cover athletes' aid until they graduate, even if they suffer a career-ending injury. So these one-year scholarships will be by the by. Athletes making more than $1,000 per year would need to disclose their endorsement contracts to a designated employee of their university, and recruits would need to provide copies of their current and expired name, image, and likeness deals to the same person before signing a national letter of intent. So everything is above board. Everybody knows what everybody's doing. So it hopefully keep the Jalen Rashada things from happening, where players get promised stuff and then the Gators don't deliver.
Well, I got to say, we had this discussion the other day about why is Congress having to solve all these problems when it just seems a bit it seems a bit foolish that the Congress has to step in and kind of act on what the NCAA should be doing. But I got to tell you, reading through these bill and hearing you kind of talk through all kind of stuff, I think it's all the right things.
Yeah.
I think, and I love the fact that it's bipartisan because we don't get enough of that, obviously, in Congress. Because I think I think it's one of those things that everybody can agree on needed to be done. And I don't know if you mentioned it there, but I really love the one that just seems like an obvious thing. I told you about it, where it permits underclassmen to enter the pro draft. Then they would retain their eligibility if they return to school within 7 days of the draft ending, and then do not receive compensation from a sports league, team, or agent. I think that is 100% long overdue, especially if you're like I think for college basketball, especially because a lot of these guys, they go for like, a year or two. Obviously the college football players, they have to play at least 2 years in college before they go. Some of these guys in basketball go after a year, they don't get drafted, then you're undrafted, and then you're basically just fighting an uphill battle to get into the NBA and get in somebody's rotation when you can go back to school.
Exactly.
You can make money still.
It's huge. This is going to make basketball better at the pro level and the college level.
Right.
There's a lot more of these guys who are being told by agents they're going in the first round, they're going to be superstars, which is about 95% of these college athletes.
I think college basketball is in need of these changes more than college football, to be honest with you. Because
it'll help the football players as well.
Yes,
it will.
But I think for this point specifically for college basketball, we've seen this kind of trend lately, where a lot of guys are going to this, the Ignite League, I think it's called, and some of these little NBA feeder leagues, and we don't really see them play, and they're getting drafted in the top 5. And I think as a fan, the traditional sense, you want to see
guys should be playing college basketball.
You want to see those guys in college basketball.
Absolutely.
That's why when the draft process was going on and everybody was talking about Scoot Henderson, I didn't really have much to say. Because I'm not sitting there watching the Ignite League, but I did watch Brandon Miller play a whole season of basketball at Alabama at the highest level, and my eyes told me that he's a player. But then you have Scoot Henderson, you have the Thompson brothers. I think Jalen Green a couple years ago went in the top 5, and he's turned out to be a pretty good pro. I don't know if it makes a difference to playing in the pro league, playing in the college, what it does, but I think in a traditional sense, college basketball deserves having the best players playing in college basketball, and I hope some of these rules allow that.
This will open it up. The best players now, can go, because they're not making a whole lot. They can make more money in college now than they can in the D League.
Right.
So that's better for them. And now with these new rules, when they get not adopted yet, this is not adopted. This is still up for legislation. By the way, the Athletic, who I'm quoting from, sorry, I did not attribute here. This is the Athletic story. You can go check it out. Really, really good story. Very well sourced. That's one of their main points now, is this will clear a lot of these hurdles for these basketball players that were, really had no choice, because a lot of the stupid NCAA rules were still in place, like the one that got Baba Miller at FSU. It's cost him 16 games his whole freshman season. That would no longer happen. It clears the way for that stupid shit to never happen again. Here's another good one. They're going to only allow one transfer where you don't have to sit out. So they're going to cut it down to one transfer, which I think is good. I think that's good overall, because then guys will think a lot more seriously about transferring. I think you should be able to transfer and be able to do it one time without any penalty. but now it's just one time, and you can't do it within 60 days leading up to your season. A medical trust fund would be established to cover the out-of-pocket expenses for injuries and other long-term conditions resulting from athletes' participation in college sports. This is a great thing, long overdue. Guys to get their knees wrecked, concussions and things like that, there'll be a trust fund where they can get some long-term care. State attorneys general can bring civil action if they believe a citizen has been harmed by a violation of the act. So that's good too. All right. Anything else in here? There's a bunch of other things in here, but here's the bigger deal to me. What this creates now is this college athletics corporation. This kind of paves the way, I think, to bring these bigger sports under one umbrella. And so it's going to be uniform across sports, where I think we're headed towards the super conferences, the 6 super conferences that will probably keep the top 96 teams in the same division, and you can have a kind of a relegation portion for the bottom of that division where teams can move up and down. I think we have 128 Division I schools right now. Probably shouldn't be that many. 96 would do it. Have a second level where there's relegation and what have you. But for teams like USF, that's where they need to aim to be, and this new stadium is part of it. This is what I love about the long-term thinking of Rhea Law and Weatherford and the people and Michael Kelly, that this is where it's headed, and USF should be in the top 96 for God's sakes, and they will with their facilities. They should be able to do that. Yeah,
and like I said about college basketball too, just the point I was thinking about. I think college basketball has suffered by not having the best. I think it was very telling. Like this year, to me, the best players in college basketball. I can't remember his name. The kid from UConn, the center. I was like Sano. I don't want to get it wrong, but you get my hint.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy. The Isaiah Wong kid from Miami, Marcus Sasser from Houston. I mean, I think a lot of those guys, like Sasser got drafted, but like Wong, the kid from UConn, they did not get drafted. You think of Zach Edey, the kid at Purdue. Mm-hmm. I doubt if he gets drafted, it's probably going to be in the second round. Like the best players in college basketball are not the guys who are going at the top of the draft anymore. Hardly. Like Brandon Miller was like kind of one of the exceptions this year. And I think that's hurt college basketball, at least for me, from a personal interest of, because like you remember like Zion, every game was crazy when Zion was in college. Right. It's like you had to watch it because I knew I was watching the best player in college basketball and the top prospect for the NBA. And it really hasn't been that way for some time now. So I can't belabor that point enough and how much I think hopefully this helps college basketball.
I think it will tremendously. And you're too young to remember the heyday of college basketball, dude, but it was awesome. It was awesome. You had some of these super teams in North Carolina and Duke and Las Vegas. It was fun. You had 4 or 5 first-round picks at some point. Even FSU had a team that had 4 first-round picks on it that went to the Elite Eight. The Coach Z coached, and these teams stayed together for 3-4 years, and it was great basketball. Man, the quality of college basketball is just, compared to what it used to be, is so bad because these kids only stay together for a year, and then you're redoing the roster each and every year, and there's no continuity, there's no carryover, everything is new. So the quality sucks. And
look at the teams that are like winning now are the teams that have guys who are staying for a longer time and that have experience and good coaching.
Bring a little more parity,
The sport has definitely shifted from that standpoint.
Yeah, no doubt. And on the field yesterday, we had Nick Saban talking about he's got 3 guys that are still battling for the quarterback position. And, you got to let the cake bake. Grandma Saban used to tell me, I can't take the cake out too quick, son. It's going to be a mushy cake. You got to let it bake. You got to get it perfect. So he's saying there's no hurry right now, which tells me I think you see Nick Saban do a little, zigging and when everybody's zagging. Everything's going wide open football, and these defenses are getting lighter and lighter to take care of speed and spread. Now he's going to line up 5 big old hosses and a big-ass tight end and just bludgeon you with these big-ass running backs and maybe, not go away from the wide-open game that's brought them great success. But if you don't have a quarterback that's as good as the run that they've been on, and maybe they don't, just take advantage of your athleticism. It'll be interesting.
I'm here to tell you right now, the rumors of Alabama's demise are completely 100% overblown.
Yeah,
I feel like this we do this like we've been doing this the last like 5 or 6 years. I feel like where we go in and we're like questioning Nick Saban and like we're making these coaching lists and everything, and we're putting Kirby Smart above him, right? And you can make that argument if you want. That's fair. But to say that Nick Saban's losing it or Alabama's, or just to outright say that LSU is the favorite to win the SEC West.
They're losing game 1 to FSU.
Probably. Who knows?
Yeah, that's right.
But I just, for 1 second, I hate when people do this because I think Alabama is one of those programs that they take that crap to heart. When you start saying this stuff, Nick Saban's putting that up everywhere in the locker room. He just does. I think they take it to heart, and typically Alabama comes out and they play like Alabama. So regardless if it's Jalen Milroe or if it's Tyler Buckner, I don't care. Alabama is going to be Alabama, and don't be surprised if they sniggle their way into the playoffs somehow because I'm just going to use that word. I don't even know if that's a word, but I used it.
It works there, I think.
It works.
Sniggle.
Sniggle.
Yeah. It's a switch between kind of a sneak and a wiggle all at the same time. Get a sniggle.
Exactly. We're combining words here on the JP Peterson.
I like that. Breaking new ground. All right, so we got a little Billy Napier sound. This is your Gator Report, brought to you by the great folks at the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves, big Gator fan, will be joining us next week, I believe, in studio to get ready for Gator football season and talk a little legal stuff with you guys as well. So Billy Napier, kind of against the grain a little bit. Jimbo Fisher has given up play calling duties. Eli Drinkowitz has given up play calling duties. There's another big one too. Gus Malzahn at UCF has given up play calling duties because it's just too much. To be the CEO and call the plays and do all that stuff. It's just a lot of these guys are just saying it's too much. But Billy Napier says, no, I'm going to keep calling the plays because I feel more involved. And I think where he's at, probably a good idea right now because he's still trying to put his mark on this team. So I think that might not be a bad idea for him right now. So anyway, let's listen to Billy Napier at the SEC Media Days talk about the state of the Gators program. Not a lot of expectations this year for this team. I've seen them pick last in a few polls, which is crazy. If you think about it, I think they'll be better than that. But here's Billy Napier from SEC Media Days.
Well, I think it's important to evaluate things in context, right? We talk a lot about this in recruitment. In 2008, the Gators won the national championship. It's 15 years ago, the last time the Gators won the SEC or the national championship, right? So the young people that we're recruiting now, they were 1, 2, 3 years old, right? So it's one of the battles that we have is recent success. I do, one of the things I respect about the place is people care, right? You want a job with high expectations. You want a job where there's alignment, there's commitment, there's resources, and we have that. So we are not lacking in any area at the University of Florida. Our player experience right now is as good as anywhere. And I've been impressed with the caliber of people that we've hired. And I think as we continue to evaluate and recruit well and, retain our people, not only the players but staff. And we have consistency in our process, consistency in our systems, the way we create habits, the values that we teach, the big picture approach relative to our purpose. If we can keep people at the core of what we do, we got a chance to do something really special.
Gator fans may not want to hear that, and I think some of them, after last year going 6-7, and how many players did they have drafted? Like 7 players, including the number 4 overall pick in Anthony Richardson. I think a lot of Gator fans stock is down on Billy Napier. I think that's wrong, and I have no closer than a few 100 miles away from your campus to look than at Mike Norvell, because some of the idiots were saying the same thing about Mike Norvell early on. But if you were really watching what Mike was doing, if you were listening to what was going on, if you were listening to people talk about Mike Norvell, who and the people that I really, really trust and respect, you knew something special was going on. You knew he was on the right track. Now, there were articles out there that, he hasn't won as many games as Willie Taggart did in his first year and a half. Why aren't they firing him? It was so ridiculous. So ridiculous. You just weren't you were looking at nothing but wins and losses, which is obviously it's the ultimate barometer. I get it. But when you're building a program, it's not the barometer you should be looking at all. There's no way. You got to be looking at the underbelly. You got to be looking at the foundations that's being laid. And I'm here to tell you that when I hear Billy Napier talk, and it's not only what he says, does that sound like a guy that's trying to sell you a used car? No. That's the guy that's telling you, you know what? You don't need to buy a car right now. You're good. You got, it's not time to go spend the money on the big car. Okay? You need to build your foundation a little bit more financially before you go out and buy that shiny new car. You need a little bit of patience. You need a little long-term view. We're not gonna go out and chase, guys in the portal that might make us a little bit better this year. Instead, we're gonna use that scholarship on a guy that we think we can develop, and we're gonna go get the best recruits. What are they? Number 2 in the nation in recruiting for 2024 right now. That's the number you ought to be looking at.
Yeah, they're number 4 right now, and the only schools ahead of them are Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama, who have had a stranglehold on college football for the last decade, probably, those 3 teams, right? That's the only ones he's trailing. He's right there, and that's my whole point. It's like
those numbers matter, by the way. I mean, I know 15, 20 years ago, high school, college recruiting, we give you a rating, blah, 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 blah. There are so many people out there scouting that. It is totally changing. You go back and look at these recruiting classes and look at who becomes a national champion 2-3 years later. I don't think we've had a national champion in the past 15, 20 years that didn't have top 5 classes, 2 or 3 of them leading up to their national championship.
On the high end, the teams that win championships have really good recruiting classes. There's always the outliers in there. Like Texas has always recruited amazingly well, and it hasn't worked out for them, obviously.
And that's changing a little bit with transfer and NIL, TCU.
Outliers. Yeah, those are outliers. But in the general sense, the teams that recruit in the top half, and I mean like the top 3, are typically the teams that are winning national championships. So when you look at it from that standpoint, you can judge it all you want on wins and losses and what takes place on the field. But if you're going to recruit at that rate, and you mentioned, if you listen to what he said there at the beginning especially, it's been 15 years since the Gators have won anything meaningful. And I mean like an SEC title. I think that's my definition of meaningful, is winning an SEC title. And it's been 15 years, like he said. And so you're recruiting kids who weren't even alive at this point, which makes me feel old, that weren't even there to see that. So the message has to shift a little bit. And the fact that here he is in his second year coming off, a 6-7 season, and he's recruiting at that pace, they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. I truly believe that. And listening to Billy Napier when he talks, and again, talk is cheap and all those things, and it's off-season fodder, whatever. When he talks, it's kind of how I feel about when Dave Canales speaks for the Bucs, but it's in a completely different way because his manner is much more calm, but it has a way of making me really listen, right? And it sounds genuine, and he seems to understand the expectation and invites it, by the way, of being the head coach at the University of Florida. So I think they're going to be okay as long as they keep that up. Like even Florida State, for as great as they've been doing on the field and in the portal, they're not recruiting at an elite rate like that yet. Like Florida State is
high school recruiting.
They're not even Florida State's. I don't even think they've even next year they're ranked. Florida State's ranked 13. They're not even cracking the top 10 right now.
Yeah, but they're concentrating, Norvell is
philosophies.
Yeah, exactly. Different philosophy, both doing it. But what I get from both guys, these guys are leaders, man.
Yes.
And they are rock solid. They're not wishy-washy. They know what's going to work for them. They know what their system.
This is not Dan Mullen coming from Mississippi State and trying to run this program like he's in Starksville. Because I think that was the downfall of Dan Mullen, is he refused to understand the weight of being the head coach at the University of Florida and trying to run it like a mid-level SEC team. And that's when you lose the fan base. That's when you lose the faith in the administration. That's when the bottom starts to fall out, and that's what happened. I can't see that happening for Billy Napier. I think he's too impressive. I think he's a really good coach, and the wins will come eventually. It's going to get tougher with Oklahoma and Texas coming in and whatever happens with more expansion potentially. But this is the University of Florida. This is a big-time program, and they're acting like it again, and I think Billy Napier is the right man in charge. And as we mentioned a couple weeks ago, on running the ball because of the uncertainty at quarterback. And they got, for my money, one of the best 1-2 punches in the country, Montrell Johnson and Travis Etienne, or Trevor Etienne, rather, behind there.
Yeah.
So I think as long as they run the ball, I can see them getting to 7 wins. I don't think it's out of the question.
But if I'm a Gator fan, I'm not paying attention to the wins and losses this year.
I want to see growth from last year.
You want to see growth. You want to see growth. You want to see it in certain spots from certain players who are going to be the future of your team. I wouldn't get all, freaked out about who the quarterback's going to be, because the quarterback's going to win you a national championship is not on this team.
Right.
So don't worry about that. And Napier understands that. And it's probably why he's going to keep calling plays this year, because he's just like, we're not there yet. But I want to have control over this until I feel I've got a guy that I can hand it off to and we can be better as an organization. So, again, don't look around. It's, Jimbo Fisher's doing it. Gus Malzahn's doing it. I better do it. No, do what's right for your team. So, if you're a Gator fan, I would stop freaking out. Stop freaking out.
And to the point about Gus Malzahn obviously doing it, and I'm a UCF guy, it's the perfect time for him to concede some kind of that control, because he's been there for 2 years now and they're entering the Big 12. I mean, Gus Malzahn has a lot of other things on his plate to worry about, and that's recruiting, and guess what? Recruiting and establishing that brand in the Big 12. So it makes sense for Gus Malzahn. Does not make sense for Billy Napier right now.
100%. Hey, we got a big story developing at the Open, and I mean big. Christo Lambrecht, who is a South African who played at Georgia Tech, is 6'8". Have you seen this guy? He shot 66 today at Royal Liverpool. Have to say it like that. 5 under. He leads. He's an amateur, and he leads the 151st Open Championship over former Yellow Jacket Stuart Sink, of all people, who was last seen with the most unpopular major victory ever, snatching it away from Tom Watson, who at 59 years old, many years ago. Lambrecht, 6'8", is believed to be the tallest player to ever compete in the Open. He routinely hits 325 yards drive and has a great short game as well. Just watching this guy play, it just looks weird. He's 22 years old, he's an amateur, and he's leading the Open Championship.
And what's funny about it, I saw his picture pop up this morning on Twitter when I saw he put a 5 under up on there, and I was sitting next to Casey. I said, "How old do you think this kid is?" And she goes, 38. Like, if you look at him, he's 22 years old.
Yeah.
He looks like he's 40.
Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around it, but he's an amateur and he's leading the Open. And we've seen this. Like, remember, who was the kid whose name is escaping me right now, who was doing really well at the couple majors ago, the amateur?
Yeah, the kid from
lost his father. I can't remember his name now.
Escapes me right now. Yeah, good young player. By the way, Tommy Fleetwood has matched that 66, the home country favorite. So he is 5 under as well. Antoine Rosner and at 4 under. Stuart Sink at 3. Wyndham Clark at 3 under par. Jordan Spieth shot 69, former champion from a few years ago. Joaquin Niemann, local Saddlebrook guy, at 2 under par.
My live guys. Ooh.
Yeah. Patrick Cantlay and Brooks Koepka at 1 under. Scotty Scheffler shot 70 at 1 under. Watch out for him. Who other? Phil Mickelson is 1 under par. They're at Royal Liverpool after 5.
Yep.
So a lot of good stuff going on at the Open. Talk more about that tomorrow. Rory McIlroy is even after 6 holes, and Rahm is even after 6 holes. So those guys got to get on it a little bit.
I did want to point out too, though. I love what the Open did. Remember how I tell you all the time, like, we have all this, like, I don't know if I call it division anymore, because now we're conjoined now. But remember the who was it at, the Masters or the U.S. Open? I can't remember, or the PGA, when Koepka went after the group in front of him that was playing really slow. It was Patrick Cantlay. And what does the Open do? They stick Koepka with Patrick Cantlay in the opening group, and Hideki Matsuyama. So kudos to finally. I love when this stuff happens. Like, let's put it together and just see what happens. Who knows? I feel like golf needs that. I don't know if anything's happened. Obviously, I haven't really watched anything this morning, but I like that we're like getting that together. Just give me like Phil and like Rory. If hopefully they can be close to each other, so we can get them in a group together.
Also, the Women's World Cup is underway. Don't want to leave the show without mentioning this. New Zealand, the Kiwis, with a shocking upset of Norway, one of the favorites. New Zealand, which has never been good at anything except for rugby, Yeah, they beat Norway 1-0, and that's after they had a shooter, a mass shooting in New Zealand.
They did?
They did, yeah. The guy went and shot up his former work space, right near where the whole World Cup thing was going on, right near where the USA trains. They had, in fact, they have an active shooter warning yesterday, and a lot of the players and press conferences and practices were affected. They shut them all down.
Well, we got the USA of note tomorrow. They play at 9 p.m.
Yeah,
against Vietnam.
That's kind of weird, but yes,
I know,
obviously
Vietnam in the World Cup. Interesting.
Two-time World Cup champions, defending two-time champions, the USA. So we'll see if they can. And things have gotten much more difficult now.
Yes.
There's a lot of teams in the mix. So
And Sophia Smith, by the way, is the name to watch there. There has been an official changing of the guard. And this Sophia Smith, I haven't watched her a lot, but I hear she's electric out there.
And Tiffany Rodman as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, the new yard is taking over for the old guard, and personally, I'm happy about it. I think they need some new faces on that squad. Some of them a little hard to root for. I have a real problem with people taking a knee when they're wearing a USA uniform. Real problem with that. I'm all for open expression and make your protest, but
well, would you look at that?
there's a place and time.
We ran out of time today. Darn.
Oh, I didn't even get to talk about Jason Aldean and CMT Television. Are you freaking kidding me, you idiots?
God
What did
bless.
I say about ignoring your core group? What did I say about that last week? Morons. Anyway, what great song. I've had it on loop yesterday while I was working out here in Vegas.
It's an
All right, we'll be back tomorrow. It is a good song. You got to admit that.
song.
Awful song?
Awful.
Are you serious?
Oh, we got to go. See you tomorrow.
You're fired.
Catch the JP Peterson Show Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern.